Beautiful. Well, I've just got to thank everybody for jumping on today. Number one, we're just excited to have community members here, and those that are joining us for the first time. We just love doing these meetups, and we love doing them because they impact and empower and enable small business to try to do things better in a collaborative way. Each week, we try to invite somebody on that is going to offer their story, maybe some highlights or some tips on how we can just be better together. And if you're listening in for the first time, or you're going to watch this later, thank you for being committed to the community. I'm excited to introduce you guys to Emma Laurence today. She's the founder of Life is Coaching You, and she is a fantastic voice in our community. Everything that she's done has been led with contribution, and I'm excited to hear her voice today. Before we get started, we're going to have everybody that's here that wants to introduce themselves real quick, and I'm going to start with the hosts. So I'll introduce myself first. My name is Adam Griggs. I am the co-founder of a software platform called CLARAfi, and I appreciate you guys. I'm your moderator today, and I will turn it over to Rachel and then Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel McCool from GoDaddy. Thrilled to have you all here. Nice to meet some of you who I haven't met before, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from Emma today. So I manage community experiences for GoDaddy, and our goal is to try to bring really great content to you, but also to connect you with each other and with us. So, we're thrilled to just hear stories every week from our great group members, and just you guys are inspirational. So thanks so much for being here.
And hi, my name is Jonathan Graziano. I also work with Rachel on building our community experiences, and I echo everything she said. Emma, you're such a great voice in the group. I'm so excited to get to hear you for the next 30 minutes. And everyone here who is a part of the forum, and even those who are not, thank you so much for being here and for helping to support Emma and all of the great work that she does.
Yeah, thank you for you both for being here and being supportive. Kat, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kat DeBiser from Rochester, New York, and I have just launched something brand new for me, Wise Turtle Oracle, and Emma is actually my sister, so it would be very important for me to be here to support her, so I'm excited also to hear what she has to say this morning. Thank you, Emma.
Oh my God, wait, I have to jump in. Are you from Rochester?
Yeah.
Oh, I grew up there. I grew up there. Seriously.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I'm from Brighton.
Oh yeah, okay. So we're from, Emma and I originally from Penfield, and I live in Fairport now, so.
Oh my God. The first man to ever break my heart is from Penfield.
Oh no.
Oh, how fabulous. Oh, how wonderful.
Well, don't hold that against us, right?
No,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful. Oh my God, you've got the best farms. That was so
Yeah. And Emma was just here, so she hopped on a plane late yesterday after spending a 5 whirlwind day tour here, seeing friends and family and whatnot. So
I love that. It always makes me so excited when I meet someone else from Rochester.
Yeah. So here we are. Yeah, it's great, Jonathan.
Awesome. Welcome, Kat. We're excited to support you in your new venture, and thank you for being here to support Emma. Patrick, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, I was on mute. So Patrick Kagan in Chicago. I'm the founder and president of PK Solutions Group. That is a new name as of yesterday. So bear with me if I refer to the old company. Thank you. The pain of change. And I will tell you what, I am excited how this group has expanded and supported everybody. And I am definitely looking forward to hearing how Emma puts the reins on the rainstorm today.
Love it. Thanks for joining today, Patrick. We appreciate you. Oakley, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. That was so funny, Jonathan. I'm Oakley. I'm from Colorado. I'm a chemical engineer and I love garbage. And I teach people how to reduce waste in their life in a sustainable way and reduce stress in their life by doing it.
I love it. I love it. We'll try not to talk garbage too much today, but thanks for joining us today, Oakley.
You can talk trash with me anytime.
Fantastic. Eileen.
Hi, my name is Eileen and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm actually here to support Emma. I just found out about this yesterday, so I'm actually working right now. I'm actually a notary here in Arizona, and just to learn more about what you're all going to talk about.
Wonderful. Welcome, and thank you for joining while you're working. We know midday Thursdays or morning Thursdays can be hard, so we appreciate your time. Beverly.
There. Hi, I'm Beverly Foster. I'm just down the street from Emma, and we're good friends. And I am a content author and editor, and I'm doing some personal brand materials now. And I also have a new project that I'm developing on LinkedIn just to get me a forum for my content on creativity. And it's basically quotes, insights, and now I'm adding activities with it. And I would love for you all to take a look. I'll put the link in the chat box. Love for you all to take a look and then give me some feedback. I'd really appreciate that.
That's awesome. We appreciate you for being here, Beverly. Number one, to support Emma, and then for putting that out there. It takes a lot to put something new out there. So thank you for sharing what you're doing with us.
Thank you.
And then I'm not sure if Bruce, can you hear us? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Bruce Fuller. I am totally not camera ready for today. I don't want to bust my camera lens. I'm doing some tech in the background. I am on the back of my business card, it reads Mr. Emma Laurence. So I am in the second bedroom. And I manage a gifting bakery geared towards the entertainment industry that's located in Hollywood, California.
That's too cool. No, I appreciate that. Thank you for jumping on today. And
it's a crummy business.
Crummy business. There we go. Some trash talk already. I love it. That's a good joke. I appreciate dad jokes more than anyone, Bruce. So thank you for that. Yeah, let's get this rolling. Emma, we are so excited to have you today. Why don't you give us a little bit of a background into who you are, what makes Emma Emma, and how you became a coach? I mean, talk to us about your experience and what led you here.
Well, thank you. Can I first say thank you to everybody for coming today, and Adam, to you for hosting this, and the GoDaddy team, Rachel and Jonathan. I love being part of the GoDaddy small business community. I just love it. I find that the individuals are really honored. People are welcomed. All kinds of connections are made. And I just feel really supported by it. So thank you. And thank you for having me. How I got to coaching, my goodness. Okay, so let's take 3 different threads, if you will, that have really made up this lifetime for me. And that is education, the performing arts, and spiritual service. Those are the things that have woven together throughout my life. And each of them have taught me something that I've then brought to coaching. I never expected to be a coach. When I first heard the term life coaching, I thought it was ridiculous. Who could possibly coach you on your life? I'm sorry, no. So the first time I got that intuition to look into it, I said no. The second time I got that intuition, I said no. I said, who could possibly coach you on your life? And then it went away. And the third time that intuition came around, what it was help people see how life is coaching them. And I said, oh, that's entirely different. I can do that. So I came to it. Education brought me that viewpoint of the potential that's in people. You know, I've taught everything from preschool music to high school theater and directing shows, and middle school to corporate business writing. So I've taught all kinds of things, and I've written the curriculum almost all the time. So that gave me the option to create something new with every group I worked with. So every person I worked with, every group I worked with, that gave me the opportunity to create something that would match that individual or that situation. And looking at the potential in each person and appreciating the potential in each person and the individuality of each person. So that's what education is really, I've really enjoyed in education. In the performing arts, again, never expected to end up in the performing arts. I was shy as a child, and I was really kind of ended up being someone who went toward my fears. And so that's how I ended up on stage. You know, I still quake all the time before I speak or before I go on stage. And it's just that somehow there's something there that wants to be shared. And so I need to honor that and go out and do it. So I did my training in New York City. That was the most exciting work, grueling work. Acting school is insane. But I learned both the layering of the human psyche by creating characters, which gives me insight into people that other people don't have. It's just I have an insight into how things are kind of put together. And then on the improvisation side at Upright Citizens Brigade in New York City, and learning that kind of in the moment, how can I ping off of what's going on? How can I ride the wave? And so that combination has brought a lot to coaching. The spiritual service side has created in me a skill of listening to people, which is what I most love to do, is really listen to their stories and listen to what is essential in them, what is unique in them, and help mirror that back to them. So I'm finding language to articulate what's different about you, what makes you you. And more than anything in the coaching is to give people the space to speak, to be heard, so that they hear who they are. So creating a way to listen so that people can hear themselves, sometimes even for the first time. So these threads have really woven together, and throughout overcoming a lot of different hardships in my life, I've just learned that, hey, bottom line, love is all there is. And ultimately, everything else is second place. And being available for people and for who they are and allowing them to be who they are and be the best that they are, well, you know, that's me.
Yeah, no, I love it. You know, one of the things that I love is the visual that you used with woven. Tapestries, when you look at them being woven up close, you don't really see the full picture, but when you take a step back, it can be a very beautiful and breathtaking thing. And your life and your experience and what you're bringing to us today, it's like a work of art that we get to enjoy. And I love the background from teaching and music and having the melody to be able to give people their own voice and their own space. I think it's powerful, and it's put you in the right spot. And one of the things you said was, you know, it kept coming around for you and it wasn't right. It wasn't right. Well, it wasn't right now. It was right when you needed it to be right. So many of us almost feel like we're racing against time and we're not allowing ourselves space to kind of evolve or really become the person we're meant to be in the moments that matter when you want to make a change, right? And that's one of the things we talk about a lot in the group. A lot of people are creating new things. This is their next journey. And you've been fantastic when it comes to leading that collaborative discussion, giving people the opportunity to have some perspective and a voice. And I love that you do that. And that's why I love that you're on with us today. And your topic that we chose was activate your entrepreneurial vision, right? So I want to ask, why did you choose the word activate rather than achieve or reach? Is the word activate specifically important to what you do?
Yes, it's absolutely very important to what I do because activate brings things into present time. That's why. It's achieve or reach puts things out into the future. And that means it can always be out in the future. But to activate something is to bring it into this moment. This is the way that we can actually, it's more like saying, okay, what's the form this is going to take? Like if you can imagine something, it already exists. It's already here. You can say, yeah, but it's in my imagination. Okay, yeah, it's in your imagination. What in all the inventions in human history hasn't first been in someone's imagination? So holding that vision of what you imagine possible means it already exists somewhere. It's a matter of how will it take shape here? So in that way, activate brings it to this moment to see how it will take shape here.
I love it. I think the word itself is powerful, right? Number one, it requires action in the moment. And I love that you're bringing it into the present. And I kind of want to, let's run with that. If somebody was to activate their entrepreneurial vision, what is the approach, or are there many ways that they can approach dealing with that and working on it?
Yes, there are many ways. And so what I've learned in observing and working with people is that most people are very familiar with a linear approach. The linear approach is what we're taught in school. It's a straight line. It is sequential, actionable steps from where you are now to where you want to get to. It's the scientific method. It's algebraic equations. It's syntax in foreign language. It's even in phys ed classes, I'm going to race you from here to there. You know, it's a straight line. There's nothing wrong with the linear approach. It can be very effective if you're clear about your vision, you have the right steps, and you're persistent. It's going to work. You know, it can work, right? The thing is that the linear approach is not the only one. And that's when I find people show up at my doorstep who have tried to reach a goal in a linear fashion. And they say, I can't get there. I'm a failure. I can't do this. Why can't I do this? And I'm saying, no, you're not a failure. It's a matter of taking a different approach. Now, before we leave the linear approach discussion, I want to say that it can be coached very well. And Patrick has done that. And a couple weeks ago, Patrick told us a story where he coached a sales team in a company. He was hired to come in and look at the sales team and help them to increase sales in a flat market. And the first thing he did, and this is great coaching for the linear approach, he went for any approach actually first. He went in and he observed them for 2 weeks. So first he's listening and he's watching and he's seeing who these people are and what they're doing. Okay. Then he came up with a way to activate, and he may not have said it this way, but this is what he did. He said, Fridays make the best Mondays. Because he noticed that on Fridays, people were leaving work early. Salespeople were kind of leaving work early. Things were kind of petering out. And then Mondays, it was hard to get the momentum. So Fridays make the best Mondays. In essence, what he did is took Monday and brought it to Friday so that people would start working on their Monday on Friday. Then he helped them get the vision by saying, I want you to write down 10 to 15 prospects that would really make your day. They would just do it for you. So, but make sure they're local. So everyone's having the same vision. Then he broke down the steps and said, okay, what you're going to do on Friday morning, you're going to write those down, but on Friday afternoon, you're going to go visit those places. You're just going to drive around and visit those places. It's all you're going to do. Then you're going to come back to the office, you're going to have a pizza party, you're going to share what you've learned with people, and then by Monday, you're set up completely differently. Do you see how that's great for coaching a linear approach? It's helping people be sure they have their vision. It's breaking down steps into smaller steps. And it's providing persistence with going from 1 week to the next, making a connection. So that's a great way to coach. With a linear, you want to get from here to there, and there are sequential steps to do so.
One of the things that I think personally, I like to set goals that are a little bit out of reach. And when I set those A to Z by when goals, it's a little bit disappointing. And I find that it's kind of hard sometimes to measure if anything's even working or not until I reach that deadline. So is there a way that we can know if it's working in the linear approach? And are there other ways that we can set goals or other approaches that we can use?
One of the ways that you will know that the linear approach is not working is if you always feel like your goal is in the distance. You're always feeling like you're reaching for something, but it keeps receding. It's the carrot dangle, you know. The other thing that people will say to me, and I'll know that they're doing a linear approach that's not working, I feel like I'm taking 1 step forward and 2 steps backward. That tells me they're trying to move in a straight line and that it's not working for them. So those are some ways to tell if it's working. If it's working for you, it's going to feel like a pace. You're going to find your rhythm. You're going to find your pace. And it's just going to go from 1 step to the next. And the steps are going to build on each other. And you're going to feel like you're getting somewhere. If you don't feel like you are, then you probably need another approach. So what are those? The more that I work with millennials, the more I learn about different approaches. And this has just been where I've been able to see this happen. So I'm going to give you only 2 other approaches because there's 4 that I've identified in working with people, but I'm going to give you 2 others, and I think you're going to recognize them. One other approach to getting where you're going is a cyclical approach, working in cycles instead of a straight line. Now, everyone has done this. Everyone here and everyone who's listening later has done this when you've tried to set up a positive habit. What have you done? Oh, I need to set up meditating every day. I need to set up working out every week. I need to do my accounting for my business once a month. Every year I need to reassess where I'm headed, that kind of thing, okay? That's a cyclical approach. It's a circle, it's not a line. So here's an example of someone who was having trouble with the linear approach, and I listened to her and said, oh no, I don't think she's linear. So a millennial came to me and she wanted to start a business in organic sustainable farming. She just landed in a beautiful new place. She and her partner had moved in. The land was gorgeous. There was plenty of space to create gardens. She loved farmers markets and she wanted to set this up for herself and then eventually create a retreat center at this location. When she came to me, she said, I can't even get the seeds in the ground. I don't know what's the matter with me. I can't even get the seeds in the ground. And I thought, well, wait a minute. This is a person who's very in touch with nature. I'll bet if she works in cycles, that's how she's going to get where she's going, because she's going to gain momentum. I said to her, tell me what you need to do in these different months of the year to have a harvest in the fall. Tell me what it would be. And we started to do that. And then we started to look at every week, what do you need to do? Oh, I need to get the manure for the garden. I need to build the deer fence. You know, I need to consult someone else to help me, that kind of thing. And what she started to do is, you'll see in a circle, you'll start to literally, it'll be like a wheel. You'll start to gain momentum. And again, if you've ever tried to set up that positive habit and you've stuck with it for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, you've found that the momentum is created by the cycle being repeated. That's not a straight line. That's a cycle.
Yeah, I think cyclical approach, that clicks with me, right? Because I have to consistently think about the future, but there's always this repetitive cycle each year on things that I have to get done. And I think it's funny when it still overwhelms you because you're still going through and learning to do it better each time, even though it's a repeating thing. So I can definitely see that. And one of the things that I like that you said was that you're speaking with different generations and you're learning from them and you're seeing that they have different approaches. And I think that that's important. I mean, a lot of us want to find something, right, that's going to fit our needs. There's going to be that easy button. We're going to put out linear approach, or I'm definitely a cyclical approach. And I wonder if there's people that maybe do multiple approaches, especially as their lives evolve. I mean, personal life, business, family, whatever it might be. And is there another approach? I think you've talked to, when we've talked before, we've talked about the Serpentine Path. I don't like, what is that? I don't even understand that. I'm sorry.
I know. Oh my goodness. You know, and this stuff has been coming to me. I've been working with it for about a year now and really learning more about it as I work with more people. So thanks for, you know, exploring this further. So yes, different generations do have different ways to do it. And I mean, ideally, wouldn't it be great if you could choose the way that you get to your goal? You say, wait a minute, it's not working to use this approach for this goal. So let me try a different approach for this goal, or for this relationship, or, you know, or for this experience, or for my business. I have this vision of my business. Can I do different aspects of my business in different ways? You probably want your accounting to be linear. You know, you probably do. And cyclical, because you're doing it periodically and making sure you're staying on top of things. But being able to move in and out of these different rhythms is absolutely an ideal. So Serpentine, what's the Serpentine approach? I absolutely learned this from a millennial in the moment on a coaching call. And here's how it happened. She was feeling lost. And since then, when I have met with clients who feel lost, or clients who feel like they have ADD, they'll say to me, I feel like I have ADD. I'm all over the place. I know to listen to see. Okay, good. Oh, so maybe Adam, maybe you'll appreciate this. I know to listen for how they're going about doing things. The serpentine is snake, yes. So I was listening to her and she was saying, I'm feeling lost. I'm kind of all over the place. And I said, well, tell me when you've had a success where you've had a vision, because she had a vision. She wanted to create a business of a video production business. And she was in a job at the time where she wasn't doing almost any of that. And she wanted to find a way to break out of this old job and move into the new. So I said to her, can you tell me sometime when you've had a success, when you've known what you want and you got there, but you weren't even sure how you got there? Is there any example in your life? I said, it does not have to be business. It could be just some recreational thing you did, anything. So this is a story she tells me. She says, well, there was this time where I really wanted to take a break, and I'd heard about this restaurant nearby that was kind of up on a hill, and she said that the food was supposed to be great and the view was beautiful. I really wanted to get there. I wanted to take myself there, as a gift to myself. And she said, but I didn't know where it was. And I could not remember the name of the restaurant. So she said, I decided to just get in my car and start to drive. So she got in her car and she started to drive. And she said, I realized it was such a beautiful day. And so I've got the windows down, I got the music on, and I'm just driving out of town. And I start driving up the road and the hill that's near where I live. And I'm going around different corners. I'm just appreciating the moment. And I turn a corner and there's the restaurant. And she said, I recognized the name when I saw it. I was so happy to be there. I drove in, had a fantastic meal with this beautiful view. And that's how I got there. And as she's saying it, I am seeing this serpentine shape. And I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, it's not linear. It's not cyclical. I bet what's happening is that she is going in her life and in her work from place to place. And since then, what I've seen is a serpentine path is for those who are picking up certain skills in one spot, certain experiences in another spot, certain contacts in a third spot, and they start making their way to the goal because they have the goal, they have the vision. But the way that they're getting there is this serpentine path. To other people, it can look disorganized. It can look chaotic. It can look even foolish, but it's not. And when we applied that to her professional life and looked at where she was getting things, wouldn't you know that somewhere in that path was the person that ended up offering her a part-time job in video production where she could learn the software she needed to learn to launch her own business.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's powerful just to know that sometimes in life things look chaotic, but if we're still working towards our goal, there's different approaches, and I love that. And one of the things you mentioned that I have to touch on was you mentioned relationship, right? When we're setting goals, none of us want to fail at a goal. So sometimes we have to take a different approach to see if we can get there. And I think that works in a lot of aspects in our life. And being in business, it is a relationship. It's a relationship with why you're building your brand and what you do. And it's important to understand that because relationships take work. And sometimes they take a different approach. If you're going to communicate or learn or grow, sometimes it can't be a linear A to Z. It's going to work no matter what. Sometimes you've got to weave through things and gather and experience and grow from that. So I love that. And I love that that's the word you used because I feel like it's very powerful. And I think that's why so many of us find communities like this that just help us to grow and empower each other. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I've already learned so much. Are there other approaches that we should know about? Is there anything we missed on that?
I'm just going to mention 2 other approaches, and then if anyone wants to contact me, they can. Another approach is the figure 8. And that I see a lot with artists. I see it a lot with creative types, musicians, writers, artists, chefs, like people who have an art form that they do, plus they have their business. They're making their business from their art, right? And so what ends up happening is they can feel like they're in conflict. The business side and the artistic side can be in conflict. And the figure 8 actually weaves those together so that they feed each other and they can grow both. And also you find the point of contact where they're actually the same. But that figure 8 is great for artists in business. And the 5th one that I call universal is the most creative and the most kind of out there. And that's where, in effect, you're working by having yourself as the center. I call it universal because it's kind of like a constellation or a solar system where you are the sun, you are the center of your business and your world. And what ends up happening is everything is drawn to you in orbit around you. It's multidimensional, but you're holding, it can involve a lot other people, a lot more people or ideas, but you are holding the space for that to happen. That's very much like directing a production where you're the director, you have to have the vision, you hold the vision. All the actors who come in are cast because of who they are, and they are they bring their best to the whole production. If that makes sense. But you have to hold that as the center of it, and it takes a lot of strength to do that. But businesses can and have been created using that model.
I think I know a lot of people are probably right now thinking of somebody in their life or somebody they're connected to that is that gravitational force. And I love it. I think just based on what we've talked about today, and I know we're kind of at the end of our hour, I want to be considerate of everybody's time. Based on what we've talked about today, you've given us a lot of different approaches. You've helped us see that business, or life, when you're setting a goal, can have different approaches, and it is a relationship, and we have to activate it, creating it in the now. I love that. So one of the things before I open it up for comments, Emma, I'd love to hear, if you were to sum up today's topic, what would you offer? And then we'll move for comments and kudos from the community members.
Yeah, what I would just offer is that, again, activation is present time. We don't have to be stretching and reaching for the future and feel like we're a failure because we can't get there. I would say that it is up to us to see how to know ourselves and to know ourselves better and to learn different ways and try different ways and to, in fact, align with our more natural rhythm. We might gravitate toward one approach or another, and to learn that is to be able to choose it. So the linear is straightforward, and that can work for certain things. And the cyclical is a cycle, and that can work for other things. And the serpentine, don't be afraid of wandering a little bit to gather experience and skills to get to where you want to go. If you're an artist, it's okay. You can weave business and art. You can do it. And if you're someone who holds a larger space for more people to be involved and more ideas to be involved, you've got the strength to do that. So no matter what you choose, remember too that joy is the fuel. So be sure it's something that you really enjoy, whatever path that is.
I love it. Like you said, it all goes back to love, and you've got to love what you do and who you're doing that with. So thank you for that, Emma. Patrick's got some comments or questions for you.
Emma, you're a phenomenal storyteller, and any good strategy, any good coach can see what's happening and translate that into a story. And I love Activate. And I work with folks when they hear we're going to set goals, they're the worst procrastinators in the world. So they love to set a goal because that means they're putting something off. So I love that you say Activate. And you and I have talked offline before, and I love the idea that everybody would love a linear life. However, life has other plans. Life is bumpy, and it's non-linear. And it's when we get to that point, I think you challenge folks to ask themselves, what do you do when life becomes bumpy? So I like that. I also like that you have this Karate Kid approach. I'm not teaching you to wax on, I'm teaching you to do karate. I love that. And then the final kudos to you is that in talking to you, what I pull from you is that you definitely are very aware of the fact that everyone learns in their own way and in their own moment. And you gave us 4 really good, linear, cyclical, circular, and figure 8. And each person could shift. So today, at this moment, I learned in a linear way, and then 2 seconds later, I need something that's more figure 8. And I know that you take that approach with your clients, which is why I think you've built a very successful business. So kudos off. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing, and I love today's chat. And I have to duck out. I apologize.
I love it. And I got to say, I think you were throwing rocks there for a second when you said the guy who sets goals and is happy pushing it down the road. But that's a discussion for another time. Oakley.
Hey. Yeah, I love that also because it really shows it's just the reality of life that we pick up things as we go and we're still moving towards a goal as those things happen. I'm wondering if you have any advice on managing thoughts while we're going through this process. So these thoughts can be, oh, I'll never get there, like you mentioned, or this is too hard, or even if I break it down, how am I going to do all this? So do you have anything of in the moment, how to like manage your own mind?
Wow, is that a whole other meetup, right? That is just, it's so true that I agree and I work with that all the time. Okay, it's a great question. And I have found with my mind that it runs cyclically. It runs in cycle, it runs like a wheel. So I try to feed it the thoughts that I want it to have. It's like programming a computer. I just choose what those thoughts are and then I let it run. And yeah. And I have actually found that meandering thoughts are more creative. So if my mind is taking a more serpentine path, I let it go and I just kind of float with it. I try to float with it a little bit, let it go, and then just take notes. So those are a couple ways that I work, if that's helpful to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love that because so much of our mind and what we think, we kind of forget that we have to actively listen to ourselves. And sometimes we have to allow ourselves space to think freely. I schedule times once a week where I'm just alone for 2 hours with things that I might have jotted down throughout the week so that I can revisit them and just let my mind go for those 2 hours. And you'd be amazed at how much pressure gets taken off when you do things like that. So I love it. I think that that's a fantastic share and a great question, Oakley. Jonathan.
Hello. So there was so much I wrote down during this presentation. There was so much I was able to identify during this presentation, specifically when you were talking about the Serpentine Path. I can't tell you, I feel like that's something that a lot of people in my age group specifically right now, we feel like we're supposed to be one place and then we invest really hard in getting there. And then we go, oh my gosh, we're not there yet. Or we want to go we need to do something else. And then it's this huge pivot, but I totally, you were saying it. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. But there's one thing you said at the very beginning that I was very intrigued by, and is something that I would love to practice a little bit more, is you said that even when you were growing up, you were shy as a child, but you've always gravitated towards your fears. You've always gravitated towards your fears. And I feel like that's kind of a superpower. I feel like that's something that whether you're an entrepreneur or whatever you do, if you're someone who is able to, because that is fearlessness, right? I feel like that kind of is what fearlessness is whether you identify your fear or not. The ability to face it, without too much hesitancy is a fearlessness. And I think that's whether you're an entrepreneur or you're going into, whatever business you might be in, like being able to navigate that and being able to say, like, I can face my fears, confidently, is something that not many people are able to do at any stage of their life. And I'm wondering if that came very naturally to you, or is that something you had to really, really work on and practice? And either way, do you have any tips?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I didn't say I faced my fears confidently.
Right.
No, it was natural to me. And here's kind of where the spiritual side comes in a little bit, because I do believe that there's a bit of a difference between our spiritual nature that might that might be fearless, and our human nature that might be scared. So I would say that my spiritual nature was absolutely fearless. And yes, as my husband often says, there are people who run into the burning building and there are people who run from it. And so if something's on fire, he and I are both types that run toward to see, obviously, see how we can help. Yeah. So definitely there's that difference of how can I help my human nature to be more calm? What practices can I set up so that my emotions will be more calm, so that my mind will be more steady, like Oakley was saying, you know, so that I can be on board with what my heart or my spirit just naturally does. Does that make sense, Jonathan?
Yes, it does. It does. Because there is that, it's that feeling of conflict constantly, that
Yeah.
feeling of there's what I want to do and there's what I know I'm capable of. And then there are all those anchors you've put in place with, but this is what I have to provide for myself and I can't walk away from what I've already got. And yeah, to have it positioned that way and phrased that way, Jess, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And it's such an individual thing too. It really is. So using all these tools.
I also loved, and I'll jump away because I know we've got another hand, but the other thing that you said that I loved is so I studied marketing in school, but I went to Emerson College in Boston. So I have tons, my best friends all were, you know, acting, performing arts majors, directors, writers. And I've taken many improv classes in my life, and I can't even begin to put into words how valuable those lessons have been, those skills to literally just be in every day to be saying, here's a given set of circumstances and it's on you to build on it. Like, you know, it's to have that mentality going into my day to day, my, you know, some big meeting stuff like that. It really is absolutely, it's got so much value to me. So I'm glad you brought that up because I think everyone should take at least a 101 class if they can, because it's such a great exercise.
It is a great exercise. It applies to everything. And while you were talking, I thought of that. What is it that can help? What have I used to help when I feel like the mind is out of control or the emotions or whatever? And it's trust life to do what you can't do. That's the life is coaching you. It's like lean into life and just trust that life will handle what you can't. You know, and so it will support you. And that's actually what all my work is based on is life supporting us. What's that Rumi quote? Jalaluddin Rumi, 14th century Persian poet, who said, live life as if everything is rigged in your favor.
Okay. All righty. All right.
Lean into life, you know? Yeah. And that's
okay.
improv. That's improv, right? That's improv.
Seriously. Exactly. I'm writing it down.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emma.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I kind of have to go back to the how do you overcome your fears? You talk about finding your calm before you approach it. I often find that meetings like this or refresh moments or even having a coach allows me a place to kind of springboard ideas off of and look at things at different perspectives, and that gives me a calm. And so like these Thursday meetups really, for me, I wish Patrick was still here. It's like Friday is my Monday, you know, because I come back tomorrow so refreshed. I'm just so ready to conquer it all. So I appreciate that. Julie.
Sorry. Hi, Emma. Thank you. I so enjoyed your talk. It was amazing. And mostly I'm just hearing you talk about the serpentine effect and getting validation about that approach, because that's how I've lived my whole life, but it hasn't always been validated. But I like the way that you've explained it, and it helps me feel good about my approach and how I do things, but also recognizing that there's lots of different kinds of approaches that you were saying, and that some parts of my business, you know, require different kinds of approaches. Like the finance should be a little more linear, which is sometimes why I think I'm more hesitant to get there, because it's not an approach that really resonates with me. But I'm learning to stretch and grow and trying to implement other need those approaches. So it's kind of a two-way storm. There's the two-way street, one that I'm natural with, but also learning to stretch myself to have to apply different kinds of approaches. And so my question to you is like, what's some guidance or tools that you give to folks that say, hey, your natural approach might be serpentine, but there's other times in your business, you know what, you're really going to need to do more of a cyclical or linear approach. What kind of a you know, kind of advice you could give me on that would be super helpful.
First of all, I'm so grateful to hear that you've been validated. That's when people come to me, that's like the first thing. Permission to be you, permission to be you. Come on, you get to do it your way. So that's wonderful, and I'm thrilled to hear that. Tips for stretching into an approach that is not your natural. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So take it slow, and give yourself incentives. Give yourself lots of gifts. That's what I suggest. Like if you're really stretching yourself, be super, super good to yourself, and give yourself treats and uh, uh, vacations, and take your time with it, and also connect with someone who is very good in that approach, that you respect, and that you see they're joyful in that approach. If they are joyful in that approach, you might catch the, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. I see why they get excited about this approach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't thought about that, catching someone else's joy or someone else's excitement about it, which is infectious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the gifts, little little treats and treasures about, okay, if I'm going to accomplish this one thing in this linear fashion, then, maybe I'll get a couple more hours in the water or something like that. So I'll definitely try and implement more of things like that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sure.
I love it. And I echo Jonathan, we all deserve a gift today. So definitely you guys all make sure that you take time today to recognize and validate the journey you're on. Eileen.
Well, I just want to say wait, can you just give me 1 second? I'm sorry. Just give me.
No worries. I put in the chat that my approach is more like a Rube Goldberg machine. So if anybody else aligns with that.
Yes, absolutely. I think it feels like the Serpentine approach, a little bit like that, where you're going from one to the next and get as creative as possible. Sometimes it's super easy and sometimes it's really creative.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience, but I had to go back and forth here. I just want to say how much I really appreciated Emma talking about the different types, the serpentine, the cyclical, the linear. It really helped me to understand myself a little bit better. And just hearing her say it again was more of a validation in my own life right now. And so I really appreciate that. And when Jonathan was talking about improv classes, I thought that was awesome. I think I might need to do that for myself.
Seriously, one of the very first things they teach you is a principle called yes and, where you're given this, whatever, someone else in your scene partner will just come up with a scenario. And in order to make it work, it's your job to just go, okay, like we're at the zoo and it's raining pigs. Like I have to roll with that. And it does, doing that exercise, it really, it helps when you're faced with, a much smaller thing. But if you're saying, okay, the timeline on this has just changed and we need to get this done a week earlier, instead of going at it from oh my God, this is harder, I can't do this. You're trained to be solutions oriented. You're trained to just go, all right, well, how am I going to roll with this? So yeah, it's a gospel I preach. I think you should totally look into it.
Yeah, it was just great to listen to everybody share about their own journey, whether it's your personal life or your business. It all goes together. It's all one. And that's what I'm learning about myself. So thank you. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for those words, Eileen. I think it's important to remember that our business is a relationship and there are other family members, right? There are people we work with, colleagues, community that we have to take as part of that. So thank you for that. I think that that's important. And I look forward to your class, Jonathan, when you teach us ad lib.
Hey, anytime you want, man. We can put 30 minutes down anytime you want.
This has been fantastic. I just appreciate all the community members that have been here today and all the conversation that we can take away. And Emma, just for you, for sharing your story, your background, and bringing your voice to us. I can't appreciate you enough for that. And I'm excited to see where everything goes. I love being connected to you and I love following. So one of the things I want to do before we close this out, since we're a community, we want to empower and impact each other. Where can we send people to connect with you? And what is the best format for them to be able to continue this conversation or the journey?
Yeah, so absolutely. LinkedIn is great. I mean, you can find me there and message me there. I'm checking that all the time. And lifeiscoachingyou.com. Lifeiscoachingyou.com is where I am. For millennials, millennial-ally.com takes you right to the millennial page, millennial-ally.com. And I really want to thank everybody because what's been the hardest for me is to find language for this stuff. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to try out some of this language and see if it makes sense to other people. It's things that I observe all the time and that I work with clients all the time on, but to actually say what the process is a whole other gig. So thanks for that.
Hey, it's only impacted and empowered us more. So thank you for that. Well, I appreciate everybody that jumped on today. Let's go out there and make sure you give yourself a gift today and activate. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Bye.
Thank you, Emma. Bye.